We're going to talk today about creating some videos as the teach piece for distance learning. We have science folks and math with us today. So that's kind of, some of the things we might talk about. What we're talking about, though, is applicable to any content area. And my name is Selena Knight. I'm an instructional tech coach. I cover over on the north side feeder pattern. I cover Vanston, Shands, and Lawrence. This year will be my campuses. And my partner
is Anna Krugerhan. I'm also an instructional tech coach. I'm also on the north side, and I do McDonald Middle School and North Mesquite High School.
Um, if you don't already follow the MISD iTech on social media, they've done an amazing job of really trying to put together a whole campaign that supports the modules, that brings back in learning that we've talked about, that gives you tips, tricks. We're listening to, it's like, I need to know how to do this. So we'll create a quick video and put it out there on social media, and then as well as linking those things on our websites. So you will be, you can follow them with the links there. Again, in the takeaway you get from this section, it will also have live links that you can go back to if you don't want to do that right now. But it's very beneficial. I learn things, even though I'm in the department, I'm like, they knew that and they put it out. Thanks for sharing. So it's good to follow up. So our purpose today, that was from before. Our purpose today, oh, sorry, this is Anna. I'm stealing her. So go ahead, Anna.
Our purpose for today, in making these videos, we want to explore why. Why are they important to make for our students? And so you saw the stars. You will have the option to choose the one that best fits what you think is most important. The 4 we picked were that you can first visualize instructions, so your students can see exactly what you're talking about instead of just having to hear or read and then maybe guess at what they're supposed to do. The second one was that you get to make those connections with the student yourself. They get to see and hear you, which is so important because they miss you and they also want to know who it is that's teaching them. The third one is that they get to interact with their friends, either in a synchronous environment where they can all hear each other live, or in an asynchronous environment where maybe they're seeing a recording where their friends had talked or shared their thoughts and ideas. And the last one is that when you record a video, it makes it very flexible for the student. So if they aren't able to come to your meet on time, or they miss a tiny part of it, or if they just need to go back and review it, they have that option available. So if you would take your star, drag it up, and we'll take a look at what people think. We want what you feel is the most important, the most beneficial for you and your students.
It's kind of hard to decide. I feel like they're all very important. Yeah. I think right now this is more important than ever because, like I said, we don't have these students in our class with us. So it's really hard to build relationships if they don't see and hear us. And my daughter has gone through both of them have gone through like college classes that are online and dual credit type classes that they never once saw that teacher's face. That person could have been eating beside them at McDonald's and they would not have known that that was the teacher they've spent this time with because they don't build a relationship. They're just going through some work. But what it also does is it creates a barrier in being willing to open up and ask for assistance or ask for clarification or ask for help. They don't feel like they know that teacher well enough to do that. So, okay, let me stop showing you the responses. So that's part of Pear Deck. I can show you what others are saying, or I can take that ability away as I'm presenting. Okay, so for the next couple of minutes, what we're trying to do with this, not just giving you content, but also modeling how you can do a synchronous lesson with your students. So having them get on with you, and we talked about some things, we had an introduction. This is going to be kind of your learning time, and part of your activity is you're going to be doing some independent learning. You're going to take agency and build agency with the learning. So for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to push it to the next slide. It's going to have active links, and you're going to see different options for video creation. I want you to take note of what are the pros and cons listed for each of those applications or each of those programs. What tool is going to most closely match your needs? Because I can tell you that Mr. McCullum is going to have a much different set of needs than Miss Rose. based on what is your content, what is your student, ability. If you're teaching, someone in our last session was like, I teach resource. I'm teaching, the students who struggle, and so your focus is going to be much different than someone who's teaching AP chemistry. So just keep in mind, what are your needs? And then I want you to take the time to add that extension or that website, and get logged in and set up an account. Okay, so you have some action as well as some time. I'm going to briefly show you, and again, modeling how you can do something like this with your students. Part of what I have found over these last 2 weeks is like, that's where I'm getting more benefit than even the content. It's like, how do I do this with my kids? And so these were created with slides. It's on a Pear Deck. This right here, there are about 6 different options. These are not the only options. These are just ones we're telling you if you need a starting point and you need something that works with in our system within Mesquite ISD with our students. This is a good starting point. Google Meet, obviously, is what we are doing. This is how we are going to be connecting with them. You will all be on Meets with your students. So in its simplest form, just figuring out how to record that when I talked to them and taught live. If that's your starting point, then that's great. Um, Other things here, Screencastify, Vidyard, Loom. Notice in the bottom right, it says these are available in the Chrome Web Store. Those are going to be Chrome extensions. So you'll need to go to the Chrome Web Store and install that and set it up as an extension. Flipgrid and Padlet are also web-based options that allow for some video, but all of these have slightly different purposes and slightly different outputs. And looking at how things, when you create it, give you the output dictates what you can do with those things. So we'll talk a little more about that, but also note someone else brought up earlier, and it's good to always think of which of these are student friendly to create and which are really just for teachers. So Screencastify, just as an FYI, is pushed to all students. They all have access, and it all force loads Screencastify as an extension on their Chrome browser. So they can record videos as well. Students can record to show evidence of learning. Vidyard and Loom, which behave similar to this, are not student friendly, but are great tools for teachers to use. Their terms of service are not friendly for our students. And then the others are some web-based programs that students can participate in, but not necessarily create their own. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes here, maybe about, earlier that was a little long, maybe 7 minutes to explore, to look at these. Anna and I will still be here if you need to come off of mute or in the chat, ask us a question. We're going to set a timer and come back together in 7 minutes. Holly, that is something that, yeah, we've really used that widely, and I think we're keeping it. I just can't guarantee that. It's probably going to go to the enterprise paid version, and I think that they more than likely are going to be able to keep that for us and pay for that feature if we need it. But I can't 100% guarantee that. So just kind of, I like to always be aware of those things. And someone else earlier asked, well, can I just run Loom on top of me doing the meet and record it that way? Absolutely. That's a workaround that you could use as well. So you can, there's always kind of a way. You just have to kind of, it's not always the easiest, but we can figure it out. I think we're going to be able to keep it though. I like to make sure people are aware, like, don't put that as the only egg in your basket. Summer, I have that same problem. It drives me crazy. Up at the top, a lot of times you'll see a little puzzle piece. If you click that puzzle piece, when you pull down, it'll show you some of those extensions. And those that you want to show up, you may have some that you're like, I don't ever really use that one. You can pin some of them that you want to show up first, and those that have, that are pinned will show up first on your toolbar. So the little puzzle piece will show you more of them. Mr. Warder, there's an option if you right click or control click that allows you on top of that tab, it allows you to mute the site. I can't vouch for. Sometimes it does some weird things with me being able to get it back on and being able to hear. But try that to mute the tab up at the top. Right click on it. Where was it? Who just asked that? Yes, with Screencastify, it is. I don't think they're extending the free pro version. But it's even in the free version, you get 5 minutes unlimited videos. But I don't think they're extending. Loom, on the other hand, this year is allowing the pro version for all teachers, and it has even a lot more capability than Screencastify, and it is free for teachers this year. Can't guarantee after that, but right now, right, it is. We have about a minute and a half. Yes, for right now, you're just looking at the pros and cons and deciding which one of those you want to try out here in a moment. Yeah. And we'll talk, it's like, again, there's benefits of some, but then there is a drawback. And so depending on your purpose, yes, and it's 100% free for them. All right, we are nearing the end of our time here. Let me stop my timer. So yes, each one, as you noticed, it may have some different options. One of the things to be aware of, like I talked about, is the output for the videos and what you want to do with it. So if you're an Edpuzzle fan, and for those of you who don't know, we now have the paid version of Edpuzzle in our district. And Edpuzzle allows you to take a video, put it in, and put some formative assessment checks and stops along the way, so kids have to stop and interact with it. But you need the video to be exported a certain way in order to be able to do that. And so Vidyard, that's my main drawback with Vidyard, is that even though it allows you to, to record and it allows you to do some cool things, it only gives you a link that's housed on their server and on their website. So you can't pull that in and drop it into your Edpuzzle, because with Edpuzzle, I either have to have it in my drive or download it. But Loom and Screencastify do give you that ability, or just recording from obviously your the camera on your like with Google Meets. Those do allow you to pull that file in and drop it into an Edpuzzle. So I like to know those things going in because here I just made this big old video and it was great, but then I can't do what I want with it. That's frustrating. So helping you see all that ahead of time helps you know which platform's going to work for your needs. Um, and then things like the Screencastify, Vidyard, and Loom all behave similarly. They are screencasting tools that allow you to record what's happening. Google Meet's recording will do the same if you present your screen within a Google Meet. Um, Flipgrid and Padlet behave a little differently, and actually, they're really more for having students demonstrate evidence of learning or share their products, which is amazing, but they also have video capabilities that you can video strictly and right within. If you work with kids who you know that they may have trouble, um, recording a video and going and getting it and linking it and all those transition steps, if you open a Padlet and you give them a task or you tell them to do something, the cool thing about Padlet is they literally can, when they click a post within the app, within that program, they can choose to record an audio recording, or they can choose to record a video recording, or go grab something from their drive or do a whiteboard. They don't have to tie multiple programs together or go link things. It's within one program. But they can video, and you can video and paste it there. Um, Padlet is an amazing feature. One of the drawbacks is they only give you 3 for free now, but you can clean them off and use them again. Flipgrid allows you to give video responses, video you can record within the program, and it allows the students to also do the same thing. One thing, just as a side note, maybe it's just me, but what I've observed is our secondary students, they kinda turn their nose up at Flipgrid. They don't like Flipgrid quite as much. They're too cool for that. They don't want to record their face that way. The interface of it feels a little more elementary, so maybe that's why, but it is an option, and if that's what you use, that's fine. So hopefully you were able to kind of get in and look at and choose. Do they love it? Good. Some do, and again, some don't, and maybe it depends on how you spin it, the culture you build, you know? There's always that. I live with teenagers, so one day something's cool and the next day I'm the village idiot, so who knows? Um, so hopefully you saw, this could be something you use during your live teaching. I had you explore options. These could have been different leveled tasks or stations that you had students working on while they were doing that independently. So the next, we're going to move on here, and Anna's going to talk about this is now you've had time to do the learning piece of it, and we had some brief teach pieces of it. This is what happens now. Where's the performance part?
Right. And I saw in the chat someone had mentioned that they just need time to practice. This is that time for you to practice one of the ones that you've chosen that you added the extension for or created an account. So on this slide, we have our instructions and our ideas for ways you could practice doing this. So we want you to create a practice video, either for instructional purposes or just a welcome video to let your students see who you are. You can teach live and record with your webcam, or you can try and do a screencast of a presentation. It's up to you. You don't have to stay in your seat. This, again, is time for you to practice. So if you think it'd be more comfortable to be moving around or to have your whiteboard behind you or to have things in front of you, this is time for you. Practice. We would also like you to try and post the link to your video to Classroom so you can get an idea of how that button looks and what you need to press and how it all works together with Classroom so it's easier for you. As Selena mentioned, we do have Edpuzzle, so we have some whiteboards. I'll get to those in a second. So Selena had mentioned Edpuzzle. So if you have the time or if you really like Edpuzzle, this is also a chance to see how your video can work with Edpuzzle and to get a feel for how that works. And we did include a link to tutorial for that. Okay, now for the whiteboard. So down at the bottom, we have some tools that you can use. You don't have to. They were just ideas that we had that fit with math and science. The 3 whiteboard apps are there. I really like Awe app, but the other 2 are excellent as well. The links should work. They worked last session. They'll work. Also, you could use a slideshow presentation. If you're going to do a lab for science, you might practice getting some equipment out and seeing how it works. with the camera. And then you might also look up a digital calculator and have it on your screen so you can show your students how things work. So what do you think, Selena? 9 or 10, what was that?
Yeah.
Running kind of close.
Yeah, let's go earlier, I think it was a little long, so let's go with, we'll go with about 12 minutes and see where you are, but again and this is something that to think about with your students too. Right now, this is you performance, task, independence, practice. What you get out of this is what you put into it, and just like with our kids, when we turn them loose to do those things, taking, ownership and agency of what happens, we gotta figure out ways to help make sure our kids do that. So, in the classroom, we would have you give us these performance tests. You're gonna have accountability and provide that to me somewhere. So, for you guys, it'll be in your Google Classroom when you post it.
Mhm. So you're free to, you can open up a new tab, you can mute our tab. Remember, you right click our tab that has the mute and it says mute site. That way you don't hear us if we are talking with someone, because you're free to ask us questions and share your screen. So it's up to you, but we'll be back. I'm sorry, Selena, what time did you say?
Sorry. Let's come back at 10:07. Nope, 10:17.
10:17.
Right? No. How much time are we doing?
We
Yeah,
were going to give them 20 minutes.
10:07. Let's come back at 10:07. Watch if you have the Pear Deck open, when the slide changes, come back. Okay? If you have the Pear Deck open to the side, when the slide changes to the next screen, come back to us.
And to mute the site, actually, Selena, since you have your thing shared, would you go over? Yes.
If
And
you
watch, she's right clicking.
control and click or right click, you can mute the site. That way, if you're recording a video and I open a big mouth, it doesn't interrupt your video. Okay. Control and click or right click on top of the tab. Depends on what kind of computer you're on, I guess. Feel free if you have questions, you can come over here and unmute and talk to us, and we can walk you through things or drop them in the chat. We can talk to you. This is kind of like you would be able to walk up to me at my desk and ask me questions or call me over to your desk. That's what we're going to leave the open beat for. Summer, share your screen with us real fast, and I'll see if I can. Or you're welcome to close this. If you would like to just close it and come back when you see the screen change, you can do that as well.
Oh, she found it. I guess that means she can't hear us anymore.
Good morning. This is my performance task for this training, and I just want to make a video out of it, record some, and then turn it into the Google Classroom. But I'm actually planning to make an introduction for myself to using my Google Classroom, but I have this tab resize right now, but I want it as a whole picture, but I can no longer go
Hey, Selena,
Yes,
I'm scared.
I am too. It's okay. We'll get there.
No, I mean, I feel so much like a dinosaur trapped in a tar pit. It's unbelievable.
I know.
It's
What
I don't even know where to start.
You know what, Sammy, if it's just that you know how to teach your content to kids, and if
That's
you
what
got
I'm
on,
scared. I'm
if
scared about not being able to teach them the content because of the way we have to teach it now,
right.
and I'm not very good at it. They're gonna fall behind content wise because I suck at this.
Well, here's the thing. Like, you were able to get on this meet with us. I
Yeah,
see you. I can hear you. At the bare minimum, if you are able to get into Google Classroom and turn on those meets, and your kids get on with you, and they are on that video with you, you have their attention. You can talk to them. You can teach. You can turn your camera to your board or to a manipulative that you would have been doing in class with them, and how you did it with them, and explain it to them.
yeah.
And in its purest form, if you can get them on there with you and have them see you, you can teach them.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot you can add to it, but get comfortable with just being there with them in the virtual world and teaching,
Yeah.
and then figure out what the next step is. And reach out to your instructional tech coach
Yeah.
and look, here's my step one. This is my bite-sized piece. Help me do this. And when you get good at that, then it's like, okay, I'm ready to add maybe one other layer. How do I do that? So it truly is just, what is your immediate thing you have to do? And I think that the first thing is just getting them on here on a meet with you so that you can talk to them and teach them.
All right.
Yeah. I
I'm
know
gonna
we're all, you know what? You also have children of your own. So
I know
it's like, hey, come and help.
they
Maria,
probably they could probably do it better than I could.
have them help you recruit them,
I
right?
know. Yeah. All righty. All right.
Yes.
I may be hollering your direction later.
Absolutely. Maria, you're welcome to unmute if you have a question. Your Google
Google
Classroom.
Classroom. Which Google Classroom do I need to turn in? I just have to copy the link.
So we're not asking you, like, if I were your teacher, if this was our class, I would tell you, you need to turn in your performance task. That's how I'm going to assess whether you're learning. That's how I'm going to look at what you know. For
Mhm.
today, what you are creating is hopefully something you can use in your Google Classrooms with your students. If you're
Oh,
making a welcome video or a teach piece video, put that, like, go in, open up your Google Classroom and create an assignment or a material post
mhm.
and put it in there for them to see, because that's what we want to make sure you know how to do, is how to make a video and get it to your students.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. But I wasn't able to go back to the normal size of my screen because I'm using, am I on again? I'm using the tab resize and I have the,
Yeah, I don't like that it does that. So if you'll click off and then click the little, like, make sure it's not maximized, click the green circle so that it kind of minimizes it again. It'll give you back the full control of your screens. That's why I don't like that one. I don't like when it, like, takes it into a different screen size, but you should be able to kind of click it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Play
found
with
it.
it. Yeah.
I could no longer see your presentation, but I
Yeah.
found it.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks.
It'll just take some practice.
I know. Or there's a lot of extensions that's already on my screen.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I I discovered this one, our app.
Yes, I love All App.
Uh-huh.
It's very
A
useful.
teacher, a new teacher introduced that to us as a whiteboard because as
Yes.
a teacher you really need to write something, explain to the kid where.
Mhm.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Summer, that is perfect. Like, having a Google practice classroom where you can post stuff in there. And I have that, and my kids, my own children, or other teachers are kind of the students as my guinea pig. So I can kind of play around with it and see. But what's kind of cool is you can also have a um, a dummy Google Classroom that I'm building stuff, and I'm planning and I'm putting stuff there. And when I'm ready to post, I post it there and I go tag the classroom that my students are actually in. So having it kind of in the background so you're not junking up your other one. Yeah, I have one that's got crazy stuff in it just because I try things out. I'm like, what does this look like from their end? So that's a good idea.
Okay, I was just trying that Awe app thing, and it looks like a lot of stuff that you have to have a paid version of it. Is that right?
Some of the features in it are paid, but in its free version, you can sign in with your Google account. You can upload images to it and annotate on it. You can have it be a collaborative space, and the students can type on it. You can send it. You can export it. It's pretty robust, but there are others as well. Like one of them not listed here is Jamboard. And Jamboard is super user-friendly with Google Classroom. It's pretty straightforward and simple. And you can drop something onto the background that you want them to write on top of or annotate on. You can use it to teach and model and record. But when you put it in Google Classroom, you can send it as only view only. You can send it to where all the kids are getting on there and collaborating, or every one of them gets their own copy. So they're going to open up that whiteboard and be able to write on top of it for you and turn it back into you.
Oh, cool. I didn't know you could do your own copy for Jamboard, but that makes sense.
It works because it's a Google product. It works just like those others. And it's there's not a learning curve the learning curve is very minimal for it.
Okay.
And you can have multiple slides. So you could have a different stimulus on the different pages that you want them to go through.
Yeah, I have a Jamboard set up for them as like a getting to know you kind of question thing.
I will tell you one thing that we ran into. You might want to do one Jamboard per class because it has a limit of I think 50. And so it won't let more than that go.
We had an issue with that with the professional development the other day.
Yeah, I did too. In the middle of professional development.
Yes.
Okay, we are getting close to, we have about 20 or 30 more seconds. You may not have your mic on, but when my screen changes, hopefully that's their cue and they'll remember to come back to us.
So I just caught the very end of that. Is Jamboard an extension or an add-on, or what is that?
Jamboard is actually a Google product. So if you open Drive and go to the little app waffle and go down, you can actually choose Jamboard, and it works just like a doc or a Sheets or a slide. And so you can create one and add pages. I can show you. Let me go ahead and move and call everybody back. Hopefully they are coming back to us, but let me show you real fast. I know that your Pear Deck just gave you a writing option. If you are interested in figuring out how to get to Jamboard, if you come to, easiest way to kind of get it is when you're in your Google Drive, I refer to it as the little app waffle. If you scroll down, it's one of the options down here, Jamboard. And it's a whiteboard that is pretty user-friendly and simple. And I can create one. You have some limited ability to change the background, but I can drop a picture of anything that I want right there. And then they can annotate on top of it and write on top of it. I can create multiple slides up at the top and send that as in my Google Classroom as view, or everybody edit, or everybody gets their own copy to write on top of and show me their work in math or science. So that's Jamboard. It's a very easy whiteboard to incorporate. Okay, so here on this one, we wanted you to just take a minute and think about, we're doing synchronous learning right now. We were doing a live lesson where we were teaching, we're being able to talk to you, and we would record this video in this session to put back in, our Google Classroom, so kids who didn't get to get on there live with us could go back and see what we talked about and have access to those materials and understand what to do with those materials. If you record nothing other than instructions, your life will be so much easier because the students do not always read those instructions. So recording it and explaining in your own words what you mean, walking through it in a screencast and showing them this is what I want you to do is super helpful for the students. Helps them make it clear. But how can we use these videos and teaching this way in synchronous like we did today, or asynchronous? How can I use my Google Meet in an asynchronous way? Do I record it and then I just post it into my classroom for kids who missed it? If it's Screencastify, That may not be so much of a synchronous use as it is, I'm going to use this more for asynchronous because I'm going to record my teaching video, I'm going to record my examples, and then I'm going to post that for students to look at and do something on their own time with it. You know, so just kind of thinking about, there's no right or wrong answers here. It's just giving you time to think about, oh, I could use that in that way. And I'm going to share a couple of the responses as we do that. I like that the Flipgrids to make introduction assignments. They get to know each other. They get to see each other. How are they going to get to see the other kids in their class? You know, even when they sit in the same classroom all year, they don't know each other's names. I think that's appalling and crazy, but that's just how they go. I'm like, you've been in class all year with that kid, and you all know their name. But yeah, how do they get to see and hear and interact and have that social aspect with them? Let me see. I'm going to scroll down to some of these others. Mhm.
If you can, would you project it again for us?
Yes. So here's a couple. Videos are critical with that distance learning. And it's okay. Like part of what you were doing here was literally learning how to use that. That's exactly, we wanted to give you the time and space to do that because right now, that's the big thing. It's like all these things, but I just have to figure out how to do it. I need to start. I need to have time dedicated to do it. Just like if it's math, I'm like, practice the math right now while I'm here to help you, while I'm here to answer questions. Let me go see. I'll do one more. So we are getting kind of close. Let's see. Yeah, I love me some Padlet, y'all. I won't even lie. Because what it does, it's real time as well. If you've never seen or looked at with a Padlet, like I said, clicking those three dots and giving the student the option to choose how they demonstrate their learning to you. My son is dyslexic, and if you tell him he has to write or type his answer to you, you're going to get the bare minimum, one sentence only. But if you give him a chance to open his mouth, you'll have to cut him off because he will tell you and you will see so much more about what he truly understands and the depth of learning if he has that option. So it's a great option and it's all embedded within. Okay. Yeah, I like the aspect of using Padlet with a synchronous because they're all posting things and commenting, and you have some control over that. They can comment on one another. You could moderate it or not, but having those discussions about what does it look like to have a class discussion in this format versus in our classroom is important in those first weeks.
Yes, I think
Yes, that's a good point. Cyril, you can, when you create your Padlet wall, you can tell it to require attribution, and then it has a profanity blocker as well. But you can tell them sign in with Google when they open the Padlet, and when you tell it they have to, and that way it's not an anonymous post. It will tag who that is that's posting it. It's good to know. Okay, so let's go. I know you guys may still be typing, and I apologize. I'm going to push to the next slide.
All right. So this is another typing slide. We'd like you just to think through your goal. What is your goal with instructional videos? What do you want to accomplish this year or even just at the beginning of this year to get started? And then taking the next step, we also want you to type out 1 or 2 sentences. What is the first next right thing that you can do to make this happen? So take a couple minutes, type it out for us, your goal, your next right step, and then maybe we can share out a little bit.
And it is okay, again, if you have a very small, specific goal to make this happen, that is okay. We're all at different points in our journey here and our comfort level, and that's okay. But one small step for everybody, we all move forward.
Sorry, Holly.
I'm going to share this as you're typing, and that's okay. But I like that we talked about creating those helpful videos for modeling for the students. But then the next step is to plan, what do you need to include in that video, right? Going into it knowing, have everything prepared. I have the screens I need open with the content I need open. I have the recording ready. Having a plan and having everything set before you hit record is going to save you some frustration and some struggle. And it's okay if you mess up. Don't feel like you have to record the entire thing. In the classroom, when we mess up, we don't make everybody go outside and then line back up and come back in. We correct ourselves and we move on. We're human, and it is okay. Our kids are not going to they're not watching these videos as if we are posting them on, the World Wide Web for payment. They're there to hear you and see you and to know what's going on. So don't feel like you have to be perfect.
And the other nice thing to remember is that once you've done it once, you already know, I need to tweak this. I can do this again. You already have it in motion. You can do it again. You can recreate things. You can make things simpler just by copying different things. So sometimes the biggest part is just taking that first step and then having something to work with from there.
Yeah, a couple of these others, giving students those resources they can come back to see. I can't tell you how many times throughout the course of my children's education, I'm like, I know how to multiply. I know how to do that, but I need to know how your teacher wants you to do that. I need to know what academic vocabulary or strategies or processes, because I'm going to tell you my way, and the way I learned it and the way I do it is just going to confuse you more. So if I had that to go back to for those students, it's invaluable, especially when we're trying to take that burden off of parents who also are still working or teaching their classes. Having that reference is huge. Yeah. And again, flipping it to where they're doing some of that learning, and they're not great at that yet, guys. I'll be perfectly honest. We haven't taught them how to do that yet. And so understanding and having that conversation of, guys, you got to figure it out. You got to put the time in to learn. Learning is an active process, not a passive process. And so you have to figure out, how do you learn things when you're given those resources and materials? When we are live here, we may do many lessons, but mostly you need me live to be able to help you when you get stuck or help you work through things and stuff. So, yeah. So we are getting close to the end. Again, whatever your next step is, whatever your baby step is, if that's something you can do and you have the resources to do that, pick something small, one step at a time. If you need assistance, do not be afraid to reach out to your instructional technology coach, your teammates, others on your campus. There's somebody who knows how to do it, or even just talking through it with others and brainstorming. I very much I'm always more productive when I can talk through something with somebody else, because as they ask me questions or as they, talk about things, it gives me ideas. So do that. Find a thought partner and get with them to move forward. And absolutely, I am always happy to share anything that I present and you see from me. You are welcome to, when you get the takeaway from this, you can go through, you'll have all those active links. But if you want a copy of the actual slides, feel free to email me and I will shoot you a copy of that. I am A-okay with if you take that, change the content words and make it your own and use it. They pay me the same way, whether you use my stuff or nobody does it. So, it's free. It's there for you. Hopefully you got some ideas of modeling how you can go through and do some live teaching and recording. We recorded all of this, and so this will be available to anybody who didn't come to this session. They could go back and watch it. So we will be here for the next couple of minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we appreciate y'all coming and learning with us. Thank y'all for your kind
Thank
words.
you.
You're welcome.
Hello, this is Kathy Foley from Horn, and I have probably a silly question.
Go ahead.
There are no silly questions.
None. Not right now.
I have been using Zoom to make pictures and then just putting them into my Google Classroom. But I tried Screencastify. Okay, my question is, how do I get it? When I put my slide that I want to show them on present,
Mhm.
I can't find.
Oh.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
I do. When you say
Okay.
present, you lose the functionality or features around.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you will, when you on Screencastify, don't present your entire screen. I don't know if it'll work exactly. If you present only one tab or if you present just that portion, it may work a little better. I'd have to play with it and see because yes, in slides, when you say present, you lose all control around it
Yes,
and what's
that made me
happening.
crazy. Does that happen in
But
Loom also? I went to Loom and had to restart my.
yeah. I'm not sure. You might try it out in Loom. But what I was thinking as well, when you run Screencastify and it's on, it's running. So if you say present and as you hit the arrow to move forward, now you might lose the video camera of yourself. I'm not sure. But as you go through the presentation, it'll still be recording. And then you can escape, get out of full screen and stop the screencast. And it may still
Okay.
record it that way and record in a full screen that looks a little slicker, a little nicer. You'd have to maybe just play with it.
Is there anything wrong with using Zoom?
You can record all you want in Zoom if you're comfortable doing that and recording that and downloading it. We can't use Zoom as a live meet with our students.
Right.
But if
Right.
you
But I can.
absolutely, if you're comfortable recording in Zoom, you rock on and you make all the videos you want that way. And then as long as you have access to share that video and create that video and share it with your students, you're fine.
Okay, because that's what I started doing last year, and the kids
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, thank
Oh.
you."
If you
So-
have fancy video equipment in your house or you
Oh,
are
no,
friends with a
no,
production agency, like,
no,
yes, you can record if you're most comfortable recording from your cell phone, however we record and can get it to them, we are not restricted on any of that. It's just that we
Okay.
can't use it for the live meeting
for the
portion.
meet.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
learned a ton. Thank you.
Good. I'm gonna take a quick run down the hallway. I'm going to populate our little screen back up. I'm going to be right back before our next session that starts at 10:30. Okay. If y'all have questions, I think Anna is still on here and she is able to help you out.
Yes.
Do you have some kind of Google form for this training that we have to turn in at the end of the training?
No, but I did understand that I think in your next session, they're going to remind you to, let me pull it up. I think in the next session, they're going to remind you to fill out the Google form that you were doing all your 3 sessions.
Okay.
So look for that
Alright.
next one.
Yeah, because the previous one, we do have a Google form to answer at the end of the training. So I'm just asking. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. It's a nice session. I
Thank
learned a
you.
lot.
We appreciate that. We hope we're helpful.
Mm-hmm.
We did not. Do we need to?
Yes. Yeah, we just have